Hey guys, Wiregrass Pyro. Today we're going to show y'all how to build a 6-shot consumer mortar rack. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into our first DIY project, that being a 6-shot consumer mortar rack that you can use for festival walls or for your canister shells. Now these are for, like I said, your 1.4 consumer grade. These are not for your 1.3s. These are strictly for consumer and consumer only. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna be taking these are the 1.91 inner diameter HDPE, that is the high density polyethylene tubes. Now these are 12 inches in length. They are plugged with a 1.5 inch wooden plug, and they are stapled around the side right here with galvanized staples. Now if you are wanting these, or if you are wanting the black ones, you can get these from pyroboom.com. I have ordered plenty of these. They always arrive to me on time, and the packaging is in great shape every time I get them. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna jump into this, and basically all you're gonna need is, if you wanna have a measuring tape, by all means, it makes it a lot easier, but you're gonna need something to trace with, make straight lines. You're gonna need a drill and a saw. I'm using strictly hand tools here, so this is completely possible to do with nothing but hand tools. But let's go ahead and get into our first little bit. All right, guys, as you can see, I have my 2x3. I did go ahead and mark this already. Now, for those of you that are not using a measuring tape, the easiest way to do this is to take your 2x3 and take your tubes and line them up as close as they possibly can, right on top of each other, and bring this outermost edge all the way to the lip. Do not go over the lip. And then once there is no space between them, go ahead and make you a mark of where that outermost on the opposite side tube ends. Now I went ahead and I did this measurement already. This is a length of 14 3/8 of an inch. So 14 inches and then 3/8 of an inch on top of that. So 14 3/8 will be our first cut. So let's go ahead and make that first cut, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna bring up the arms, and we'll go over those as well. All right, and our next cut is going to be for our arms. Let me go ahead and grab this off the ground. So this is gonna be our base. Our tubes are gonna be sitting upright, and then our arms that we're gonna have are gonna be sitting on the side like so, and then we will have the tubes in between them. Now, with these tubes being 12 inches in height, you're gonna have about 1.5 inches drop right here to compensate for this 2x3. So I usually always cut mine at 12 inches, and it gives me about 1.5 inch lip to work with right here on the actual tube itself. So let's go ahead and measure these out. So we're gonna have two 12-inch cuts. All right, so for our next step, what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna secure these two arms to the actual base. Now, what I suggest doing for this is get a drill and go ahead and pre-drill the holes on the side of the arms. I am gonna secure these with two 3-inch deck screws. Now, these are exterior screws, so they will be good for the elements and being outside and getting wet. The reason we're gonna use 3-inch screws on these is because if you use a 2-inch screw, you're not gonna have enough grip to secure it to the base through these arms, and you run a chance with the amount of pressure and force that is coming off of these canister shells to actually separate these arms from the base. Now, like I said, these are going to be secured with 3-inch, and make sure you pre-drill those holes. All right, guys, as you can see, we have the arms secured to the base of our mortar rack. So the next step that we're gonna do, we're actually gonna take 1x4s, and we're gonna cut 4 of them to the length of 17 1/4 inch. Now what those are gonna do is they're gonna be on the bottom on both sides to secure the base of our tubes, and then they're also gonna be one on each side towards the top, and what those will act as is more of a guide to keep the top and the bottom from rocking like so. So let's go ahead and get those boards measured and cut, and we'll get back to you. All right, guys, as you see, we're on to the next step. My shirt has changed. Unfortunately, this is 2 days later from the previous cut, and that is because my battery ended up dying and I just hadn't had time to finish this video. So where we left off is we were cutting our 1x4s to size to act as guardrails on our actual rack. Now, I did go ahead and secure this backside already, as you can see. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about safety. This is the most important and probably the longest section of this video, and that is just because of how serious this channel takes firework safety. Now, when you are using a mortar rack such as this, you run the risk of having your actual canister shells not leaving the tube and detonating inside of the rack. Now, with a 6-shot rack, you don't necessarily have to, but if you would like to, you can do what is called a spacer. And ultimately what that would be is you take a piece of wood, preferably something a little bit wider than this, and you put it between your tubes on both the top and the bottom to create a space. And the reason that you would want that space is because when HDPE tube has a malfunction and the round or the canister shell, the firework, does not leave the tube, these actually expand. Now, basically what they will end up doing is they will swell in the middle where the detonation happened, and then they will split along the side. And when that happens, if there is a spacer, you have less of a chance of them interfering with the tubes that are next to the one that detonated. Now, the next portion of safety is going to be a swing gate. Now, what a swing gate is if you have a detonation in your mortar rack, this bottom or the top brace or guardrail will actually lift up and swing open, thus giving the possibility of a tube sliding out and then pointing off into the wrong direction where you do not want it. So to prevent that, what you want to do on this board right here, we have some holes drilled at the bottom, and that is so we can secure it to our base and not just our arms. Also, make sure you stabilize your rack with some wood on both sides to act as a leg. Now, these will be centerized. They will not be on one side like this. I would suggest cutting those to the length of about 12 inches. If you are using a 12-shot or higher, definitely go with a lot wider leg. And then the last portion of safety, when you are building a rack or using a rack in your show, you always want to make sure the ends are what face your audience or your spectators, because these right here act as a block, and you have a less of a chance of any type of debris or shrapnel going towards your spectators. If you have these sides right here, the open sides facing your spectators on either side, if you do have a malfunction and these actually detonate inside the tube, you run the risk of having a vent and sending shrapnel and other materials towards your spectators. And we do not want that. So look at this rack as you would a cake that has a direction saying face towards spectators, and basically the line is that arrow. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we will actually go ahead and secure these. We will get this done and we'll show you guys what the build's like at the end. All right, guys, as you can see, we got it all pieced together. Tubes are not going anywhere. And for those of you that are wondering the color difference, the colors does not matter. Both the orange and the black are the exact same material. They're both high density polyethylene in a 1.91 inner diameter. And these are DR11 tubes. So like I said before, if you guys want to get any of these tubes and build your own racks, definitely check out Pyro Boom. They're probably the best place to get them from. But with that said, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna wrap this up. And also, make sure you guys practice safe fireworks and have a blast.